Chris, thanks for coming on this call. I just want to introduce Chris. I think we met through someone else that we had met online, but
Totally.
we worked on some projects together, like some marketing style projects for clients. But then we both kind of realized at the same time that pursuing online solopreneurship, by the way, that many of the experts online said, was kind of pulling us from our own passions and kind of had that epiphany at the same time. But you live in Austin now. And, what's the name of the company that you run now?
Red's dryer vent cleaning. I should have worn my uniform.
Oh yeah, yeah. You've been shooting. I see your GoPro videos, and I like that it's just a head cam like view of you doing the work up on the roof.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So do you want to just introduce yourself and kind of what your creative projects have been on? Anything else you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, I've done all sorts of stuff. Um, 27th, 2018 is when I kind of burned out on corporate life. Well, I burned out a couple months before that, but that was the last day of my corporate life. I gave a 10-day notice right around Christmas, wrapped up some final projects that I was working on, and quit with no plan, no anything. I was just like, I can't take it anymore. Um, then
What do you think it was? 'Cause I
it
had a
was
similar
me.
path at times.
I mean,
You
it
what?
was uh, as an older and wiser man, I recognized that I was most of the problem. Um, the environment was bad, but who I am now, I could have held on a little bit better, done well. I still wouldn't have been happy. Like I wouldn't have loved what I was doing there. But I wouldn't have been, like, on the verge of death like I was, because I mean, I was,
You were miserable?
drinking like crazy back then just
You were miserable?
to cope, and, I mean, I literally I wanted to die, and I was, like, ready, and I was basically just I knew if I stayed, I was gonna pretty much drink myself to death, like, rapidly.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, even, like, life as a total bum and failure is better than, uh, what I'm experiencing right now, so I left without a plan, but I mean, looking back, a lot of it was me. I didn't have the emotional maturity to really deal with to like set boundaries and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot of that. I do a lot better in that environment now, but I still don't really want to go back.
I think it's
Um,
hard to set the boundaries, or even if you do set good boundaries at a job that demands a lot of your emotional and mental energy, even if you do manage to, like, set good boundaries and still make time for for yourself, it's still really hard. Because that
yeah.
was for me, it depleted a lot of my emotional and mental bandwidth. So I felt like I had to show up, deliver huge, like during the peak hours, like when my brain and my body's at its peak
Mhm.
focus and productivity level, um, to then go do stuff either before really early in the morning or like late in that evening to work on what I would call my creative projects or endeavors that engage creative expression or studying or learning new things, like really pursuing interests and passions was hard. And for me, I was like, "Oh, how can I do this all?" Because I felt like the need to also socialize some. That kind of led to some drinking. Or I did dating apps for a bit too, but like when I was repressing things that I was actually drawn to, that wasn't great either. And then also, yeah, I reached a point where I kind of gave up like writing habits, my writing habit, and even music habit, and just always having some creative project to work on. And I mean, I can't say that I blame the job 100%, but it was a big part of it. It's also
Yeah.
mindset though. Like I reached a point where I was like, well, you can only do a few things. And so there's
Mhm.
no sense to make a plan if I can only do a few things at once, or it's really hard. It's like felt like I was pushing against the grain. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I've had a lot of different jobs, but at one point it led me to online videos of people with basically personal brands talking to me about how to make like an online business. And before that, I'd been interested in like creative things like writing books, songs, filmmaking. And I had this weird shift at one point. It was kind of like right after COVID. It was kind of the internet boom.
Mhm.
A lot of things went online. I got my first remote job, but yeah, I burned out too. But then I felt there was a shift at one point where I was only looking at, like, I stopped my creative expression. I stopped endeavoring to like write books or music. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go all in on trying to make an online business, and then I can be, once achieve a certain level of success, then I can focus on what I want to do. But
Mhm.
I reached a point where I was kind of like, I don't think that's the way. This needs to be like a lifelong habit.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that, and now I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, and that's where the whole dryer vent cleaning comes in. Um, like if you compromise with yourself and you tell yourself that you will do something that you hate or that you're like not proud of for a little while, uh, and then you'll get around to doing something that you don't hate or
Are
that
you
you like
naturally
actually
curious
like.
to do? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or that you actually can feel proud of or take pride in and feel good
Mhm.
about, and you think, "Oh, I'm just gonna trade a couple months, or I'm just gonna trade a year or 2 years doing this thing that I hate or that I'm not proud of, uh, and I'm gonna make a bunch of money, and then I'll go do the stuff that is closer to what I actually wanna do."
Mhm.
Doesn't work for, like, a lot of reasons. Um, the main reason I have found, well, I mean, the main reason is that you can never bring enough energy to that project to do it the way that it would need to be done to achieve success. And then even if you did, it's going to take like 3 times as long as you initially thought. So like we make ourselves these promises where we're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing that I hate for 6 months. I'm just gonna build this little coaching hustle, do it for 6 months. You get to 10K a month, do that for a couple months, make a bunch of money, and then I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna stop working and then I'm gonna go write a bunch of songs. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. Like,
Yeah, because you're not living like, you're not embodying the lifestyle or the habits of the person that writes the songs, that writes the
yeah.
bunch of songs. And so, and like that's something you need to like build over time. It's like muscle training. It's almost like
Mhm.
creative force training. You believe in the force from Star Wars.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of this stuff is kind of like use it or lose it too. Like it'll come back, but I was trying to play some guitar today and it's been too long, so it's tougher for me to get into it. So it's like if you're gonna make that compromise, there's a phrase. You have to choose your regrets. Like you really have to choose what you want to sacrifice, and you have to be okay with it up front. And like if you're gonna give something up, you have to be okay with giving it up for a long time, possibly forever. So you really have to take the time to get to know yourself and kind of recognize like what are the trade-offs you're gonna make. Um, like for me, I'm glad I stepped away from music because I really wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough to build a business as a musician when I was trying to do it. I did pretty well, um, considering that I was a total novice. I was a decent musician, not like a exceptional one, but I was a decent one, and I just was flying on intuition as far as business stuff goes. I didn't really. I had a good work ethic, but I lacked confidence, so I wouldn't put myself out there. I didn't understand sales and marketing. Um, but just by working hard and learning a shitload of songs, I was able to get pretty far and releasing music and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, like when I tried to approach it when I was younger, like right after I quit that corporate job in 2018, and so early 2019, um, I just didn't have the skills to take me there. So then that's where I made the compromise. It was like, oh, I'm going to do something else so I can come back around to the music thing and when with more money I can do it. But I don't know. I changed as I shifted gears and I focused elsewhere. I changed. I liked the ways that I changed, but like looking back, I know that was a one way change, kind of. I probably will get back into the music, but not at all in the way I envisioned back then. Like, I'll never do touring or anything like that unless, like, I fundamentally have changed into a different person because of the path that I ended up following instead of doing what I wanted to do back then. And what I've kind of learned over time is that looking back, it doesn't matter that much. If I had stuck with the music, I probably would have made it work. Um, and I probably would have been happy with where it led. And I'm happy now. And but yeah, like I did make some pit stops and make some compromises where I was like, I'm gonna do stuff I hate, or try to launch businesses that I can just like do it quick and then get rid of it. That
Yeah.
doesn't really work. Any endeavor that's gonna bear fruit is gonna take longer than generally someone who's in that type of headspace is willing to commit to it. Because even this dryer event thing, I don't want to do it forever, but uh I'm doing 70 hours a week on it probably, and I'm gonna be doing it for at least a year, probably longer. And even this is just with me not wanting to do it forever. Like there's really no like 3 month get rich quick schemes out there. Crypto's not gonna work, personal brand is not gonna work. Like none of this stuff is gonna work. You gotta build. So I chose an avenue in the dryer vent cleaning of that is aligned with the type of person that I want to become. So it's not that I want to clean dryer vents forever, but the type of work that I'm able to the the type of person I'm becoming and the type of service I'm allowed to give people goes a little bit deeper than just the dryer vents. It's an industry where most of my competition is really scammy, um, doesn't do the job right. They take people's money. Am I going kind of off the rails here?
No, I was,
Yeah.
I'm looking back at notes from last time we talked when I forgot to hit record, and
Mhm.
you said something really that helped me out. It was, how, yeah, it's not what you want to do forever, but it's connected. You connect it to your bigger purpose of
Mhm.
like making people feel good. So it's like, and it's a piece of a puzzle and it allows you to do other things or work towards things.
Yeah, the lesson I've learned about passion is that we look at passion too shallowly. When I was doing the music thing, I thought music was my passion, but I remember talking about this last time. But I don't think it's really possible to be passionate about something as shallow as just music. It goes deeper than that. I think a lot of times when people think, "Oh, I'm passionate about music," they're really passionate about something at a much deeper level, which is like beauty
Beauty,
or expression,
expression,
um, becoming. Uh, these are all things that music allows someone to do. Music is a lane.
being open
It's a
emotionally.
path.
Yeah.
But so are a lot of other things. And the 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 bad trades we make are when we deviate from the deep passion.
Or when you blame something and forget the deep passion.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
like trading some of my creative work for what I'm doing with the dryer events right now, to me hasn't felt like a loss because I'm connecting with the deeper passion of serving others, of helping people feel safe and confident, of being a trusted member of the community, of becoming more understanding, a better communicator, more humble as I'm dealing with, I'm going in people's houses, I'm communicating with people, with many different people all day. There's just a lot of small experiences that are involved with something like this that connect me with, with the deeper purposes that really drive me and the deeper things that I'm passionate about that also previously drew me to music and have drawn me to writing as well. For me, it's that idea of serving others, of helping them, of demystifying mysteries for them, of helping them gain better understanding about the world around them. Um, these are things that I wanted to use music to do. These are things that I wanted to use writing to do. And then now that I have an understanding that it's that deeper layer, I've realized that there's a lot of ways that I can do that thing. So I'm not as connected, or I'm not as attached to a particular kind of first level way of how I connect to that deeper passion. If it's drier events for now, that's fine by me, because I think I'm still living in alignment with that core of who I am, and I'm still becoming the type of person I'd like to be, and I'm expressing myself authentically in the work that I'm doing.
I think, yeah, that's a huge key that you hit on right there. And you mentioned stopping music for a bit. I've done that too. I kind of took a couple years off of music. I was in the band. I was really serious about it. I've had other phases of music writing and like making videos about my music, putting them out on YouTube, moving on to the next one. Also, like you not knowing the business side of it. But then I've had a lot of phases. Like there was the writer phase, and then there was the business building phase, the online business building phase, which I kind of viewed as a promise of more freedom, like not having to work. Once you reach a milestone, you don't have to work as hard. You have more time. And I was like, that's what I want. So I can do creative stuff to my heart's content and like go travel or whatever, go on adventures.
Right.
But I don't know, each phase it teaches you something. Like you get something out of it. I think that helps. That could help anyone. Your perspective or your kind of philosophy on zooming out and seeing the bigger passion that it connects with. It's
Mhm.
hard because there's still like the day to day grind and things that piss you off about your job. But
Yeah.
that's why, for me, being able to recover my creative habits, even if it's just a little bit, it's huge. Like I used to, when I just start, like I had given up on creative projects completely. And in my 20s, I was like, I'm going to write books, I'm going to make albums and be in a band, and I'm going to
Mhm.
make films. And like I tried to do it all at once. Also, not a great strategy for anything.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like root down slow and build slowly, or slow, let something marinate slowly. But I don't know. The You had said this last time too. The phase that people might go through is trying to build an online business, experimenting with different methods and models. There's a lot of advice on the internet. A lot of people say their ways the best way to achieve whatever result, and you kind of attach to that result because you
Mhm.
think it's a maybe a quick route towards more freedom or money, whatever it is that you're chasing, or both. And you can it works for some people. You had mentioned that last time too. It's not all
Yeah.
bad, but you can lose it, for me at least, and I think for others too. You can lose yourself if you attach yourself too much to someone's method or their specific goal. I don't know. I think being able to customize things for ourselves and adapt and remember where we even need to put boundaries on our schedule if you need to, if you need to maintain some kind of habit. So for me, when I started, I was just like, I'm just gonna write for 15 minutes. I usually 15 minutes a day, couple minutes a day. Actually, when I started, I think I was like, I'm just gonna open the Word document.
Mhm.
If I just get it open, then I'm bound to at least get like a couple sentences on there. But it was just like training my brain to remember to have a creative ritual that I stayed dedicated to. But yeah, the monetization part of it, that phase, experimenting with different things, taking people's different courses, taught me something about like, yeah, the business side of it. Like when I used to make stuff back in the day, I didn't really think about that much at all. So
Mhm.
it's kind of more a grounded perspective, but it all leads to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, everything works and everyone's kind of right. Like and at the same time, everything sucks and everyone's kind of wrong. Like,
Yeah.
like writing I love writing and I hate it. Like writing that book and writing some of my like longer, more difficult pieces uh, is one of like, writing is one of the most painful activities I've ever done. Like,
It's painstaking, but when you get in the
yeah,
flow, it's nice.
yeah, I get into the flow and I love what comes of it.
Yeah.
I love the produce, but the work itself, there are depths of that work and there are aspects of the work that are absolutely agonizing. And the same applies to music. To whether it's performing or writing or recording, like uh, there are aspects of every piece of music that sometimes they just really suck. For me, for my brain. And the same applies for the dryer vents, and the same applies for every other job I've ever done. There's stuff that I like, and there's stuff that I don't like. And there really is there's no activity. And so that's where I started to realize like being passionate about like an activity doesn't really make sense. Like an activity, I don't think can be a passion because every activity has like bullshit built into it. Like even stuff that's supposed to be fun, like video games, like some parts of video games are boring or annoying or like uh, ridiculously hard, and then it ceases being fun. Like some aspects of various other types of hobbies are boring or obnoxious or difficult, and so it's like making an activity your passion is just not going to deliver. You're still going to be seeking.
It's almost like focusing on the deeper purpose behind the activity. The
Mhm.
activity is a channel for something else that we value. And it's hard to remember that sometimes when you get stuck on the surface and the day-to-day encounters. Um, but yeah, I like that philosophy a lot. Like for me, sometimes I complain like about video editing. I'm a lot happier if I'm writing or making music or some video. Like you said, I like the produce, the final
Mhm.
output of a well-crafted story in video. So it's the passion is storytelling, people sharing lore, and there's a lot of forms of that today, and video is one way to tell it. But yeah, the actual like clicking, making a bunch of micro decisions if I have to video edit, not my favorite. It's
Yeah.
absolutely creative focus and yeah, but the bigger output or the bigger passion is the deeper purpose is storytelling in multiple
Mhm.
many mediums, but video is just one of them.
Yeah, yeah, it's like you're not really going to find very many people that are passionate about video editing,
Nope.
but you'll find people that are passionate about filmmaking,
Contributing to
different
my
types of
story.
niche, like about they see video editing as an important part of a larger project. I just read it today. I've seen the analogy several times. There was um, an architect that had designed a cathedral was walking through the building. The workers didn't recognize him. He talks to three of them. They're all bricklayers. He goes to the first one and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm laying bricks." Second guy is like, "I'm I'm just doing my job, whatever, something like that." And then the third guy says, like, "I'm building a cathedral to honor God." They're all doing the same job. They're all just laying bricks, but one of those three is much more satisfied with the work he's doing because he's recognized the ways that it connects into the greater passion of his life. And it basically applies to any activity. Like no one's going to be passionate about bricklaying, nobody's going to be passionate about video editing, but what video editing allows you to do, that you may be passionate about. Not
Yeah.
necessarily in your case or perhaps in your case, but it's just an example.
Oh no, it's been a good skill to learn. I'm grateful I've learned and experimented in different forms of storytelling, expression, and the tools that bring it from life. Um, let's talk about your book. We mentioned it, but we never discussed what it was. The testimony of Jacob Cohn. Yeah, I read this book. I'll try to do a quick synopsis. You might be better than me. But
I
yeah,
can
it
just read
was a
the
super
back.
short read. What's that?
I can just read the back. I've got it right here.
Yeah, read the back and then I'll say how the experience was for me.
So the back, I've got a quote from the book. I am starting to believe that hell exists and we have found it. So that's a little, gives you a little taste of what's going on here. The testimony of Jacob Cohen is a cosmic horror story about an archaeologist on an Antarctic expedition who discovers a mysterious ziggurat hiding terrifying secrets from a forgotten past. It draws inspiration from the narrative style of Dracula, the real life endurance expedition led by Ernest Shackleton, and Dionysian cult mysticism, along with modern astronomy, astrobiology, and mycology.
It
So,
mixed a lot of things. And I love that it was like a personal account, so like journal entries almost of
mhm,
how, and you nailed the voice of someone who wrote journal entries in the 1800s,
mhm.
late 1800s. But yeah, they're sailing down to Antarctica like an expedition, and then they see some like I think it was some sperm whales with some glowing growths on them, like bioluminescent growths. And then they get marooned in Antarctica. They have to go inland to survive. They find like a lost city, essentially, ruins coming out of the ice, which is crazy to think about because Antarctica is just a wasteland. But like, what if it was a continent that like floated down and then froze, or it was a warmer period? I don't know. But they take shelter from I think like a storm in the pyramid
Okay.
inside, and there's bioluminescent mushrooms growing in there, and it gets weird from there as they try to escape. But yeah, it was, as they say, a page turner. It was good.
Mhm.
It was quick and exciting, and yeah, really psychedelic. Cosmic horror fits it. Um, you came up with the first line in a dream, right?
I did. I was a couple years ago. I had just recently read Dracula for the first time, and then I had gotten into H.P. Lovecraft and kind of that cosmic, the horror and cosmic, and especially that cosmic horror. And so those vibes were just kind of floating around in my head. And I was working my ass off doing like some like marketing freelancing, like working way too much, stressed out. So I passed out like during the middle of the day one day. I was like sleeping 2 or 3 hours a day at the time. So I passed out middle of the day and it had just like was ended up totally delirious. And then in that dream, the opening line of the story came to me. I wasn't planning to write a story or anything. Like had never really had plans to write fiction, but like I woke up from a dream with a line in my head, which was it was the first line of the story. Uh, it is a mysterious line that divides the truth from madness, and I hope for my soul that I have crossed it. For what I have witnessed here must be either raving delusion or unfathomable evil. And I was like, well, I gotta find out what that meant.
Yeah.
So I just pursued the thread. And my theory is that everything exists kind like in some way in the multi-layered multiverse of consciousness.
Uh-huh.
So like exploring that like there's part of me that believes that was transmitted to me from a place where all the events that happen there are real.
Uh-huh.
And so then I, as the author, am crafting and discovering a set of circumstances that could be and are at like a super conscious level of existence where essentially anything that can be thought of can be experienced kind of at the level of the mind. And so everything is kind of real. And
Well,
so yeah, like
that's what I loved about it, because the characters, especially if you live in the 1800s, but I think any time period, if your reality starts to warp and get weirder and weirder,
mhm,
you still try to hang on to a thread of sanity and order. Like, and that's exactly what the characters do. And
mhm,
especially Jacob Cohn writing in his journal, um, just clinging to that thread of reality and some sense of order to maintain sanity in like a completely alien environment and just obscure conditions from your normal life. Um, yeah, I like it. And the contrast of going in from the Arctic wasteland into like a pyramid inside where the only light is a glowing mushroom. You're planning to write more books, right? And the mushroom you said is going to be a theme that appears throughout, even if it's a different story, different characters, different timeline.
yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I did a lot of research as I was writing this story, so a lot of it was grounded in my understanding of like real science and stuff like that. And so all that research, I basically I world built around the story, and so I came up with a world where like the fungus is sort of just part of the fabric of the world there, but it uh, is in hidden place. It tends to be in hidden places and do its thing. Um, so yeah, it's definitely it's in ancient Greece. It's in some of the caves in the forests of North America. It's in a lot of places in that world, and I want to write stories about some of the events that happen in those places.
I would love to see what happened if like a Sasquatch ate one of the mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a screenplay that I never wrote. Maybe I will someday, but it's about a Sasquatch investigation crew,
Hmm.
and it would be like kind of like a mockumentary, but it could be a fun thing to play with. Um, can I read? Can you give me some feedback on my book? Back
Yeah,
cover.
absolutely.
It's the back cover description. I
Hmm.
designed it today.
Okay.
I can share my screen. I got it here somewhere. Let me say. All right, so this is my memoir that I just wrote. I don't I feel weird calling it a memoir. It's about the satirical and absurd experiments that I did with the content creator economy. And I feel pretty weird about publishing this, but I'm just gonna roll with it and let it be cringe because I think some of the stuff's pretty funny. And it's a lot of the themes that we talked about in the beginning of this call. You see?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little absurd, dude. It was when
Yeah.
I camped on a mountain. I made these satirical episodes called What's My Niche? Where I played myself, but also other characters as I changed my niche or my subject matter. Um, and the things I talked about on my Instagram reels, YouTube shorts, TikToks, etc. Basically your social media videos. And I camped on this mountain in one of the episodes, and this guy had been my camera guy over on the left, and he died. He walked off a cliff talking to his selfie stick.
Yeah.
But um, I'm just gonna read the back and give me some feedback if you think if it describes it well. I'm trying to make sure I got this ready to go. But it says, "What's My Niche" is a memoir about chasing online success, losing yourself, and rediscovering what truly matters. Brady Snow dove headfirst into the content creator economy, convinced that once he hit entrepreneurial milestones like fewer hours and more money, he'd finally be free to create to his heart's content. Instead, he found burnout, disillusionment, and the absurd emptiness of creating for algorithms instead of human connection. Through restless years of as a digital nomad, oh, sorry, here we go. Through restless years of digital nomad life, outdoor adventures, and satirical experiments in online business, Snow exposes the costs of deferring your creative self in exchange for some elusive vision of digital success. Along the way, he rediscovers purpose in storytelling, solitude, and finds his creative forge in the San Juan Mountains. With honesty, humor, and lyrical reflection, Snow shows that purpose isn't found by shrinking yourself into a marketable niche, but by reclaiming your true creative self and trusting that soul alignment, not algorithms, is what leads to real freedom. It's really weird to write about myself in the third person, and just see that now that the writing phase is over.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's pretty much what it's about without going into too much detail. I mean, the back cover shouldn't be very much.
I think it's solid. What I like about it is that it clearly doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not
Like, it
yeah,
comes across scale, still be funny.
yeah,
Okay.
like it'll be funny and like really honest. Um, it doesn't really feel like something where you're just going to be like holding a bunch back and trying to paint yourself in a super positive light or anything, which is refreshing. It's legitimately interesting, just the places that you ended up going on the journey and the things that you did. Yeah, I mean, it genuinely is an interesting synopsis or like an interesting kind of introduction.
Okay.
Like it makes me curious, and it definitely is. It would catch my attention. Um, how long is it?
It's about 36,000 words.
Mhm.
It was a little bit longer, and just a couple weeks ago, I took some stuff out of the ending and added some stuff, but it ended up getting a little shorter. And
Yeah, the
yeah,
back kind of feels like it should be a short read. That's why I asked that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Something
quick.
lighthearted, kinda casual. Not a lot of the nonfiction on my shelf is it's so dense and it's meant to be like, "Oh, this book is going to transform your life."
Yeah. So when I wrote the first version of this, it was 90,000 words. It's more than twice as long as it is now.
Yeah, that's way too
And
much for something like
it
this.
was a lot of personal essay,
Mhm.
and it covered more of my life. But I might release some of it as like short stories, like a
I think
deleted
that's a good call.
deleted scenes type thing. But
Mhm.
I was like, it was kind of refreshing to write it after having written that one, because the first draft was just vent and reflect and remember, and this one was more like I wanted to focus on the theme of the content creator part of
Mhm.
my life. And that was pretty much from when I gave up the idea of creative ritual as like something I'm passionate about and just storytelling and sharing my perspective. I gave it up and focused on business education and experimenting, but then also this outdoor adventure. But I kind of pushed that to I had a remote job, so I was like on perpetual workcation, I called it. But that
Yeah.
ended up like snowboarding, backpacking, traveling, meeting up with friends wherever, all over the West. Um, a lot of road trips, like working out of cafes and restaurants.
Mhm.
But that became a distraction from like my deeper passion of storytelling, creative expression, and
Yeah.
working at it as like a habit so that you can improve and experiment all the time. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was a little embarrassed to publish it, but I think I'm gonna go through with it. And I'm just self-publishing, but um, it was I kind of viewed it as like a dig myself out of the hole type of thing. But
Mhm.
really, we're meant to be right where we are at all times. I'm excited for what'll come next, but it was a good experience to go through. I don't know. Yeah.
And I think it ties in with what I sort of detect as your deeper passion of like really becoming and connecting and expressing and writing. When you write the right thing for the right reason, it's a self-creative process,
Mhm.
um, and a self-refining process, particularly something like this where you're looking back on it. Through the
Where
process of you doing that work, it allowed you to really extract the lessons from the time in a way that in a unique way, a way that you couldn't have otherwise, even by just remembering them. And it also gave you an opportunity to kind of decide what you wanted to learn from the time. And it
Mhm.
seems like you came out of it positively transformed.
I did. It felt bad in the transformation at times. Like I felt lost, or like I was a shadow of my former self. But when you commit to the process of like slowly rebuilding a side of you that you'd repressed.
Mhm.
When you commit to that and you stay with it, I don't know, you gain a lot of clarity after what else, like what's important to you, where you need to draw your boundaries, what
Mhm.
habits, mindsets, perspectives, or beliefs, I don't know, you have to defend in order to be your true self. Because like we talked about it with the corporate job thing, but and that's just an example. It could be more than just a job that could cause you to do something. It could be a bad relationship, but
Mhm.
there's things in our lives, either a relationship or an experience or something we commit to that drains us or keeps us from what we truly feel inside of ourselves is something that we value and want to be devoting time to. And I think it's maybe as an American society thing, maybe just modern digital world, but we feel, I think you and I aren't the only ones. There's people who feel they have to repress a certain calling or passion or something they want to practice or work on.
Mhm.
They feel they need to postpone it or wait. And sometimes maybe you do, but we can fall into a certain temptation to continue the toxic habit or the toxic relationship, whatever it is, and not, like, be okay. We might be okay with our boundaries being crossed, not defending the thing that we want to make sure we have in our lives. Um, and yeah, I just I don't think it's worth it. That's what I learned, I guess. Um, we should, even if it's only a little bit of devotion to something that we care about, we should be working at it through our whole life in some way. And it looks like different things at different times of people's lives, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, what I've found is like if writing is your way of connecting to your deeper passion, then you want to carve time for it in the present because that's the thing, that's the way that you're going to create yourself. Um
Mhm.
at the same time, you maybe want to hold off on starting that 6-book epic fantasy series
When you're
until you
quite
have a little bit more
older.
life
Yeah.
and writing experience. So that's where you have to sort of you gotta go through the steps. You gotta start as a beginner and you gotta do beginner work at first.
Learning to
Um,
prioritize projects, tasks, or goals is a big thing you learn too along the way. And so, fortunately, the best way to learn is through painstaking experimentation and failure.
yeah.
But as long as you keep going and you keep doing stuff and you don't retreat into a shell and stop because it got hard, or you find some other excuse for something to focus your time to, dedicate your time to, then I mean that's kind of you living your calling
Mhm.
if you stay true to it. Carve time out.
Yeah, that's where I've really started to try to reduce the scope of the projects that I allow myself to start. And that's where like the creator economy rat wheel kind of re-enters the discussion.
I'm glad you mentioned that term. I had it in my notes.
Yeah.
The rat
Um,
wheel of content creation online.
yeah. Content creation, personal branding.
It's a good skill to be able to create content online and put yourself out there, but
Yes.
there's a lot of pitfalls, I feel like.
Yeah. There's a lot of most of most of the creators that are kind of perpetually online and most of the methods that creators use to make money from what they create have no end. They are projects that have no end. And a project that has no end will always eventually become hell because it will eventually prevent you from growing. And when you're not growing, you're dying and you can feel it.
Yeah.
It's painful. Dying is painful. And it starts when you kind of sell yourself out to stop growing. And unfortunately, content creation, kind of exacerbated by technology, is one of those unique things that it's more Sisyphean than like the corporate jobs that a lot
But
of the gurus rail against.
yeah, it's
Because
pushing
like
longer uphill.
at the end of a corporate job, there's retirement, but like like when you are a content creator and like there's no pension. Maybe you can make enough money in it that you can just stop creating, but that's generally not what you necessarily set out to do. Like you say,
Yeah.
oh, one day I'm going to stop doing this, and then you've got a whole audience that you feel responsible for,
Well,
and
that's where the niche thing comes in and where I got the title of my book. I intentionally misspelled it, but I thought I wanted to create like an online coaching business and course business about video, like how to shoot video. And I went so far down it, and yeah, it felt like a hamster wheel spinning. And even if it had been something that pays me really well, like if I get to that point, I'm kind of pivoting into some other ideas here, but still wasn't the answer to like why I wasn't fulfilled in life. I
Mhm.
had not been doing anything creative or trying to express myself. And I, my fear was getting locked into a niche. And a lot of people might experience that. They get known for one thing, but then your preferences change, or you might want to talk about something else, or you found that you're just starting to repeat yourself and just say things in different ways. And it's what kind of more appealing to have a book, a writing project, making a song, or a narrative film or a documentary with a specific purpose.
right.
Um, Instead of just like selling things or yeah, giving people your info and knowledge, but each creative project has a end point and
Mhm.
a earned experience in the end. And then you can integrate that experience and move on to the next project where it's going to be new terrain, which for me I like. Some people
Mhm.
might like repeating the same thing over and over, but and you can keep consistent themes throughout different projects. Um, Stuff and like similar values that stay true through all your works or creative projects, endeavors, whatever. But yeah, the content creator hamster wheel.
Yeah, yeah. It's so I've made the pivot to more project focused work, because even again with like the dryer events are something like this dryer event business is something of a gymnasium for me to acquire certain skills that I know I'm going to need to have in order to become the person that I would like to become, who is involved in the projects I want to be involved in. I've realized the scale of creative projects that I want to do is going to require me to start large companies with employees and to learn how to deal with banks and lawyers and stuff like that. So that's also part of why I'm running this business, because I'm learning to deal with banks and learning to deal with laws and regulations in a way that like solopreneurship and being a creator it was never going to get me there. I'm learning to build a team and to to train people and delegate tasks, because in the long run, like I've realized, yes, I want to be a writer. Um, but even more than a writer, I want to be a producer of great work. I want to employ excellent writers. I want to employ excellent musicians. Again, this lines in with my very deep passion of serving others and helping them become who they are. So for me, using creativity to become who I was kind of the beginning phase of that. But what I have learned is that my very deep passion is to serve others and help them become who they are. And so that means if I want to build like a large media company that produces books and magazines and manga and video games and music, I've got a lot of I've got a lot of learning that I have to do.
But you're
So
getting the experience.
yeah,
on people's rooftops, cleaning dryer.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean, I'm learning to systematize everything, to build systems inside the business with the intention of being able to hand them off. It's a completely different approach from being a creator, where you're a one man show, and that's fine, and that's what I wanted for a long time. Was I wanted to be a one man show, but I think the reason it continued to be unfulfilling for me is that there was a big there was a big self worth part of it. There was a big like becoming successful, flying solo, and being the guy that can do everything was a way that I could maybe prove to myself that I was like worthy of something. Uh, and I think just failing enough and being fortunate enough to have had the right content come across my feed and find the right books and stuff like that. I was fortunate enough to have wisdom intercept me and kind of break me out of that, so that that chip isn't on my shoulder anymore, and I no longer have any qualms about the idea of getting help from other people who are much better than me at some of the things that I also do. Like I want to be a good writer. I want to write some good stuff. Uh, but the idea of employing people who are better at writing than me is no longer intimidating to me now. Whereas who I was a couple years ago, I resented the fact that I wasn't the best at all the things that I liked to do.
I think that's part of what I learned in the process that ended up being described in my book. Um, was there were a lot of versions of myself. I was curious about seeing what they might be like if I could bring them
Okay.
into being. And then a lot of it becomes just like a cerebral thing that you think's real, but your heart or your soul, as some might say, is somewhere else. And
Hmm.
you know it even when you're doing the wrong task or almost like embodying the wrong version of you.
Hmm.
I think that's part of learning what is the right version of you, the one that you feel most natural in, that's meant to be brought out in the world, in this life. But I mean, you have to go through the experiences, you gain the clarity, and then you also have to have the courage do, to be willing to do the habits that make you that person that you are meant to become. And the process of becoming can take a whole life or a good chunk of your life, but and you should always be transforming, growing, learning. Um, but I think once you learn what is worth cutting out, what is not you, knowing what you don't want is a huge chunk of the puzzle done.
Hmm.
And from there, you can act better. And yeah, being able to say, no, I don't need to do that project. No, I don't need this kind of relationship or this kind of experience. That can go a long way too, keeping you focused and on your trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, there's no easy path, and so that's where, because I still get shiny object syndrome all the time, and I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. This is hard, but everything's hard if you do it right.
Mhm.
So I ask myself, like, why am I drawn to this? Like, is this something that I would be interested in building a team around and paying people to help me with? Because anything that done at scale is going to require you to pay out more money to other people than you yourself are making. And so I ask myself, like, is this something that I would want to build, like a 5 or 10 person team, and pay? And maybe it generates a couple $100,000 a year or whatever, and I keep like 200 of that, and then 600 of that or 500 of that goes out to a team and to software and to taxes and all this other stuff. Like, is that what I want? Am I so passionate about this idea that I want to do all that? And generally the answer is no. And so then I can pretty confidently say, well, that was fun to think about. But I'm gonna set that aside.
I'm in a similar boat where what I do for employment now is not something that I want to sustain for my whole life. I'm working on
Yes.
other projects. I've complained that it's hard to work on other projects with the schedule, but I've been shifting my mindset to be not as hard on myself and then more grateful for even just envisioning what and being aware of what I want to work on and work towards over time. And the long game is less stressful than trying to rush something out. But
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, for me, where are we at on time? I don't want to.
should probably wrap it up in a minute, couple minutes.
Yeah. Um.
Coming up on an
Yeah, we
hour.
don't need to start a whole new topic. We can continue the discussion on another day because I'm gonna go anytime I start talking. I'm gonna go another 10, 15 minutes.
All
So
right. We can do it another time.
yeah.
Yeah, we kind of just scratched the surface of some stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but where can people check out your book that you showed us and follow you in case you post some more stuff about future writing? Or and then if anyone is in Austin watching this,
Mhm.
if they need their dryer vents clean, where can they get a hold of you?
So my personal website that holds essentially all my creative work is christopherjfritz.com. So that's where you can find my book. It's on Amazon too. Uh, so you can find that there. That links out to basically everything that I have going on. My old music published on Spotify. You can find that from my
Roses from
personal
Bones,
website.
right?
Yeah.
Cool.
My Substack, kind of my archive of my old work and
Writing.
writing, all that. So as far as following me, probably X. I intend to continue to use X in the future, but well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm
You
like,
up some good stuff on X,
yeah,
writing based.
yeah. I've really pulled back um, from social media, and I think I will. I'm gonna try to stay pulled back from it, at least at a personal level. So following me, updates, just pick a platform. I'm kind of on all of them. LinkedIn or X, I would say. LinkedIn kind of sucks though. So X, we're gonna say you can find me on X, um, which should the link should be available on my website. And then as far as dryer vent cleaning, Red's Dryer Vent Cleaning is my company. File. See if I have my logo around here anywhere. No, I don't. Red, like the color red, based in
You got
Austin,
a
Texas.
website?
Yeah, it's www.redsclean.pro.
Cool.
And you can probably Google it and it'll come up if you're in Austin. And you can Google me, actually. I'm Googleable. So if you
Nice.
just Google Christopher J. Fritz, you're going to find me. I dominate like the whole first page.
Nice.
Before we go, I'll leave an exercise that I generally advocate for people that are maybe dealing with some of the challenges and experiences we covered. As an exercise I like to suggest, um, I call it the 4 pillars of, I guess we'll say passion this time. It's not a perfect name, but 4 filters basically is what it is, and it's passion, prowess, perception, and persistence are the 4 Ps. And so what I like to advocate is for people to kind of write down 25 activities that you enjoy. That's the passion filter. So out of all the things that you can do in the world, what are 25 that you know for a fact that you enjoy them when you do them? Um, that's enough for me to think that there's passion there. Um, Next filter is cut that down to 12. And out of that 25, keep 12 that you think you would like to spend a significant portion of your life that you think you would enjoy and not regret spending a significant portion of your life developing prowess in. So becoming very good at. And the next filter is perception. So out of Though out of that 12, cut down to 6. What are 6 of those things that other people would perceive as valuable? And then the third filter is persistence. And so out of those 6 things, what are 3 that you could persist at without hating it, without growing to hate it for 10 years? And then one of those 3 things, or some combination of those 3 things, is probably a pretty safe bet to at least look into.
And spend some time experimenting in.
Yeah. You're perhaps less likely to regret time you spend on those things than on other things. If
I
you
like
can
that.
confidently say you're passionate about it, you want to develop prowess in it, you'll be proud to develop prowess in it. Other people perceive it as valuable, and you could persist for 10 years without hating it.
I like that. I'm going to do that. I wrote
Might help.
25 things once that I love doing. And even if you persist at those 3, that doesn't mean the other 25 aren't off limits.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
the ones that you are ready to dedicate some life force to.
The
Your
core.
your core, yeah. For me, writing's one of those.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of forms of writing. But that's one. Outdoor adventures is another. And I don't know what the third is. Possibly relationships. Probably relationships. You just having emotional connections, real connections with people. But yeah, I'm glad we talked tonight.
Mhm.
And I remembered to record this time, so that's
Yeah.
great. I'll hit stop when we're done here right now, and then we'll stay on the call for a second. But yeah, everyone check out Chris's book. I highly recommend it. The Testimony of Jacob Cohn.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right. And we'll talk again soon.
Mhm.